The sun dipped below the horizon as Ethan wiped his greasy hands on a rag, standing outside his small, weathered auto repair shop. Business had been slow lately and money was tight, but Ethan never turned away someone in need. That's just who he was, a man who believed in hard work and kindness. Just as he was locking up for the day, the roar of a motorcycle shattered the quiet. A sleek black bike wobbled toward his garage before sputtering to a stop right in front of him. The rider, a woman clad in leather, removed her helmet. Long, golden brown hair spilled over her shoulders, and her striking green eyes, filled with frustration, locked onto his. "Hey, I think something's wrong with my bike," she said, stepping off and inspecting it, almost as if hoping it would fix itself. Ethan chuckled. "You came to the right place." He crouched beside the bike, scanning it carefully. "What happened?" "It just started making weird noises, then stalled," she replied, crossing her arms. Ethan got to work, checking the engine, inspecting the fuel line, testing the battery. All the while the woman watched him intently, curious about his calm, collected demeanor. Most mechanics she'd encountered were rough and impersonal, but Ethan seemed different. Genuine. After a few minutes, Ethan wiped his brow. "Looks like a clogged fuel injector. Simple fix, but it'll take a little while. You're welcome to wait inside." She hesitated, then nodded. Stepping into his humble shop, she took in the rustic decor, old posters, shelves full of tools, and a few framed photos. One in particular caught her eye, a young Ethan standing next to an older man, both covered in grease but smiling proudly. "Who's this?" she asked, pointing at the photo. Ethan glanced over. "That's my dad. Taught me everything I know about fixing cars and bikes. This shop was his, before he passed." "I'm sorry," she said sincerely. He shrugged. "It's life. He worked hard, and so do I." Something about his answer struck a chord. Unlike most men in her world of wealth and luxury, Ethan was content with what he had, even if it wasn't much. She extended her hand. "I'm Olivia, by the way." He shook it firmly. "Ethan." As he returned to her bike, Olivia observed him closely. There was something admirable about a man who used his hands to create, fix, and build. He wasn't driven by money or status, yet he carried himself with quiet confidence. She'd spent years surrounded by men who only cared about power. Could someone like Ethan, who had no idea who she really was, be the kind of person she'd been searching for? Ethan tightened the last bolt and stepped back. "All done. Should run smooth now." Olivia straddled the bike and revved the engine. It purred perfectly. She looked up, genuinely impressed. "You're good at this. Been doing it my whole life," he replied with a modest grin. She reached for her wallet. "How much do I owe you?" Ethan hesitated. Normally, he'd charge at least $100 for that repair, but something told him Olivia wasn't just another customer. "Tell you what, consider it a favor. Just promise me you'll ride safe." Olivia blinked, surprised. No one had ever refused her money before. She had more wealth than she could ever spend. Yet this struggling mechanic didn't want a dime. "Are you sure?" she asked, watching him closely. He nodded. "Yeah, you look like someone who could use a break." For the first time in a long while, something stirred in Olivia's heart. Something real. She smiled, slipping her helmet back on. "Thank you, Ethan. I won't forget this." She revved the engine and sped off into the night, but her mind raced. She'd found someone different, someone genuine, and she wasn't going to let this be the last time they met. The next day, Ethan fell back into his usual routine, but his thoughts kept drifting to Olivia. Something about her lingered in his mind. He didn't expect to see her again, but fate had other plans. Just as he finished a repair, a sleek black car pulled up outside his shop. The driver stepped out and opened the door, to reveal Olivia. But this time she wasn't in biker gear. She wore an elegant dress, designer heels, her presence radiating grace and authority. Ethan's jaw nearly dropped. "Olivia?" She smirked. "Surprised?" "You could say that," he replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "What are you doing here?" She took a confident step forward. "I wanted to see you again." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Why?" She took a deep breath. "Because I think you're the kind of person I've been searching for." Ethan crossed his arms. "And what kind of person is that?" "One who values kindness over wealth. One who doesn't care about status, but about people." Ethan chuckled. "So I take it you're not just some random biker?" Olivia smiled. "No, I'm Olivia Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises." Ethan's eyes widened. He'd heard of Carter Enterprises. It was one of the biggest corporations in the country. "You're serious?" She nodded. "Dead serious." Ethan let out a low whistle. "Wow, and here I was thinking I did you a favor." "You did," she said softly. "More than you know. I've spent years surrounded by people who only see me for my money. But you saw me as just a person who needed help. That means more than you realize." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Well, I don't know much about billionaires, but I do know a thing or two about honesty. And if you're being honest with me, I'd like to get to know you better." Olivia smiled, warmth blooming in her chest. "I'd like that too." And just like that, two worlds that never should have crossed paths found something real in one another. Sometimes fate has a way of bringing the right people together, no matter how different their worlds may seem.